Welcome back for another deep dive. Um, Today we're doing something a little bit different.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at just a single line of text
Wow. Well.
as our source material.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I think it's going to be a really interesting challenge to see what we can unpack from just a single line of text. And I'm really glad that you're here with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I think your expertise is going to be really invaluable in this.
I appreciate that.
So without further ado, let's just jump right in.
Sounds good.
The text that we're looking at today is, "My mother abuses my whole life, and I can't function."
Oh, wow.
So it's heavy stuff right off the bat.
Yeah. It's, obviously a very emotionally charged statement.
Yeah. I think it's really important to acknowledge that, even though we just have this one line of text,
Right.
there's a whole world of hurt and pain behind these words.
Absolutely. And, we don't have a lot of context. To go on here, we don't know the specifics of this person's situation, but we can use this as a starting point to talk about the broader issue of parental abuse and the long-term effects that it can have.
Exactly. And I think, one of the things that really jumps out at me from this text is that phrase, "I can't function."
Yeah.
Like, that just speaks to
Yeah.
such a deep level of pain and just inability to cope.
Yeah, and it's really common for survivors of abuse to struggle with things like, holding down a job, maintaining relationships, taking care of
And also,
themselves.
their whole life is just sort of thrown off balance.
Absolutely. And it all stems from this fundamental disruption of trust. When the person who's supposed to love and protect you is the one who's causing you harm, it can really shake your sense of self and your ability to trust other people.
So how does that kind of trauma manifest in everyday life?
Yeah. We talk about difficulty with relationships. Imagine constantly questioning people's motives, never really feeling like you can let your guard down, because you're always afraid of being hurt again.
Like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly. And then there's the impact on work, the stress, the anxiety, maybe even panic attacks, being triggered by things that other people wouldn't even think twice about.
So it's not just like an emotional thing, it's a physical and very real impact on their ability to just function.
Exactly. It's like they're carrying this invisible burden that's weighing them down.
Yeah. And I think this text also highlights a common misconception about trauma.
Okay.
Which is that it's something that you can just get over.
Right.
Like it's a one-time event and then you move on.
Yeah, there's this idea that time heals all wounds. But with trauma, especially prolonged abuse like this, it's not that simple. The trauma becomes embedded in your nervous system. It affects your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors in ways that you often can't control.
So it's not something that you can just yourself to get over.
Exactly.
It's a trauma.
Yeah.
Much deeper issue than that.
Yeah, it's more like a chronic condition. That requires ongoing management.
So is there any hope for people who are dealing with this kind of trauma?
Absolutely there is. The brain is incredibly resilient. And there are therapies that can help reprocess traumatic memories and develop coping mechanisms.
So what kind of therapies are we talking about?
Well, there's EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Right.
And it's been shown to be really effective in reducing PTSD symptoms. And then there's cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which helps people identify and challenge negative thought patterns and develop healthier ways of coping with stress and anxiety.
So giving them the tools to kind of reframe their experiences and manage the symptoms.
Exactly. It's about empowering them to take control of their lives again.
And I imagine, having a strong support system is really crucial.
Oh, absolutely. Feeling seen and heard and believed by others is so important for healing.
Yeah. Because if you've been through this kind of trauma, you've probably had your experiences dismissed or minimized.
Right. So to have people who validate your feelings and believe your story can make a huge difference.
Where can people find that kind of support?
Well, support groups can be really helpful. They provide a safe space to connect with others who understand what you're going through.
Okay. And that sense of community can be so powerful.
It really can. It reminds you that you're not alone and that recovery is possible.
So we started with just this one sentence, but it's led us to, some really important conversations about trauma and its impact. What does this all mean for those of us who haven't experienced this kind of trauma?
That's a great question. I think it starts with awareness. educating ourselves about the realities of trauma, challenging those misconceptions that we talked about, and advocating for better resources for survivors.
Right, like even small acts of kindness and empathy can make a difference.
Absolutely. Just listening without judgment, offering a helping hand, believing survivors' stories, those things can go a long way.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even in the face of such darkness, there's always hope. And we all have a role to play in fostering healing and resilience.
Well said.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We covered a lot of ground today, and I know it might feel a bit heavy. But remember, awareness is the first step towards change. So I'll leave you with this. How can you, in your own life, contribute to creating a world where survivors feel safe, supported, and empowered to thrive? Something to think about as we go forward.
Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next time.